I am so glad you found your way here. Welcome to Psychology for Sleep. Your body is regulating temperature right now while you rest, orchestrating a delicate dance between warmth and coolness that determines whether you'll sleep deeply or toss restlessly all night. You'll discover why the simple act of adjusting your thermostat might be the sleep solution you've been searching for, and understand why humans have always gathered around warmth to find peace. Now settle in. You're in your safe space while your skin quietly releases heat, preparing your core for the temperature drop that signals sleep time. Allow yourself this moment of warmth and exploration. We'll journey through 100 psychology facts about thermal comfort and rest. From the ancient instinct that draws us toward fire's glow, to the precise temperature your brain needs to dream, to the bridge between feeling warm and feeling safe. This thoughtful journey through consciousness builds bridges between searching minds. A soft like or sharing your thoughts creates a pathway for more rest seekers to discover this sanctuary of warmth, one sleepy soul at a time. Your journey toward better sleep inspires ours. Let yourself settle completely here. Feel your jaw unclench, your breath deepen naturally. You can let these thoughts drift past without holding them. Sense that soothing heaviness enveloping you, like your consciousness slowly dimming its brightness, thoughts dissolving into peaceful fog of approaching sleep. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. You're floating where warmth wraps around you like gentle hands. Let your mind merge with infinite comfort. And now we begin. Your body temperature drops every single night before you fall asleep. This isn't a random occurrence or a side effect of lying still. According to research from the Stanford Center for Sleep Sciences and Medicine, your core body temperature must decrease by roughly 1 degree Fahrenheit for sleep to initiate, continuing to drop another degree through the night. This drop signals to your brain that it's time to transition from wakefulness to rest. The process begins about 2 hours before your usual bedtime, controlled by your circadian rhythm working in concert with environmental cues. Your hands and feet actually warm up during this time, releasing heat to help your core temperature drop, a process essential for sleep initiation. This elegant mechanism has evolved over millions of years, ensuring that mammals like us can enter the vulnerable state of sleep safely and efficiently. Understanding this temperature dance is the first step toward better rest. Humans are the only mammals who intentionally control their sleeping environment's temperature, while other creatures seek caves, burrows, or shaded areas for natural cooling. We've built entire systems of heating and cooling to create ideal conditions. Research published in Nature and Science in 2024 confirms what sleep laboratories have measured for decades. The optimal bedroom temperature for most adults falls between 60 and 67 degrees Fahrenheit. This range allows your body to perform that crucial core temperature drop without fighting against external heat. Yet the psychological component matters just as much as the physical one. Feeling too cold triggers stress responses that keep you alert, while feeling comfortably warm in a cool room creates the perfect conditions for both body and mind to surrender to sleep. The thermostat on your wall represents thousands of years of human innovation aimed at this single goal, helping you rest deeply. The feeling of warmth activates specific regions in your brain associated with safety and comfort. Neuroscientists, using functional MRI scans, have identified that when your skin senses pleasant warmth, it triggers activity in the anterior cingulate cortex and the insula, brain areas involved in emotional regulation and the sense of well-being. This isn't just about physical sensation. As detailed in research from the Max Planck Institute published in early 2024, these same brain regions light up when people experience social warmth, like a hug from someone they love or a kind word from a stranger. Your nervous system literally cannot distinguish between physical warmth and emotional warmth at the deepest processing levels. When you walk into a heated room on a cold night, your brain doesn't just register temperature change. It registers safety, belonging, and the ancient mammalian comfort of returning to the den. This neural overlap explains why a warm bedroom feels psychologically soothing even before it affects your body temperature. Cold stress keeps you awake through the same mechanisms that helped your ancestors survive freezing nights. When your skin temperature drops below comfortable levels, your hypothalamus activates the sympathetic nervous system, the same system responsible for fight or flight responses. Your body starts producing norepinephrine and cortisol, stress hormones that increase alertness and prevent you from entering deep sleep stages. According to sleep physiology research from 2023 and 2024, even a room that's just 5 degrees too cold can noticeably reduce both REM sleep and slow-wave sleep, the most restorative phases. With some studies showing reductions of 15 to 25%, your body prioritizes survival over rest. If there's even a possibility of hypothermia, your brain will keep you semi-alert, ready to move, ready to seek warmth. Indoor heating eliminates this ancient survival mechanism, telling your body that it's safe to fully relax and enter the deep states necessary for healing and memory consolidation. The psychological comfort of indoor heating extends beyond just warmth itself. It represents control over your environment, a fundamental human need that affects mental well-being and sleep quality. Studies from environmental psychology, including recent work from 2024, show that people who feel they have control over their bedroom temperature report significantly better sleep satisfaction than those who don't, regardless of the actual temperature. This sense of agency matters deeply to your nervous system. When you can adjust the thermostat to your preference, you're essentially telling your brain that you're in charge of your own safety and comfort. This reduces background anxiety that might otherwise interfere with sleep onset. The simple presence of a functioning heating system, even if you rarely use it, provides psychological security. You know that if the night turns unexpectedly cold, you can respond. This knowledge alone allows your mind to relax more fully into sleep's embrace. Infants and elderly people are particularly sensitive to temperature when sleeping, making indoor heating especially important for these groups. Newborns cannot regulate their body temperature effectively for the first few months of life. Their surface area to body mass ratio makes them lose heat quickly, and their thermoregulation systems are still developing. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends keeping infant sleeping rooms between 68 and 72 degrees Fahrenheit, slightly warmer than adult optimal range. Similarly, as we age past 65, our ability to sense temperature changes and adjust accordingly diminishes. Older adults often don't realize they're getting too cold until their core temperature has already dropped dangerously low. Research from geriatric sleep medicine in 2024 shows that maintaining consistent, comfortable warmth through the night significantly reduces nighttime waking in elderly populations and improves their overall sleep architecture. For the very young and the aging, indoor heating isn't luxury. It's necessity for safe, restorative rest. Your skin contains millions of temperature receptors, called thermoreceptors, and they send constant signals to your brain about your thermal state. According to sensory neuroscience research, you have both warm-sensitive and cold-sensitive nerve endings distributed across your entire body surface. These receptors don't just detect temperature, they contribute to your overall sense of comfort, safety, and readiness for sleep. When these receptors detect pleasant, stable warmth, they send signals that contribute to parasympathetic nervous system activation, the rest and digest state, opposite to fight or flight. The gentle warmth from indoor heating creates a consistent sensory environment that tells your brain there are no threats, no rapid changes requiring attention, no need for vigilance. This sensory consistency is particularly important during the first 90 minutes of sleep when you're most vulnerable to awakening. A sudden cold draft or temperature drop can pull you out of light sleep stages, fragmenting your rest. Heating systems that maintain steady temperatures protect against these disruptions. The concept of thermal comfort reveals itself as beautifully complex and deeply individual. While general guidelines suggest cooler temperatures for sleep, personal preferences vary based on factors including body composition, metabolic rate, age, gender, and even cultural background. Sleep researchers have found that women, on average, prefer sleeping environments about 3 degrees warmer than men do, likely due to differences in metabolic heat production and subcutaneous fat distribution. People with higher body mass index may prefer cooler temperatures, while those with lower body fat might need more warmth. Your individual thermal comfort zone is influenced by what temperatures you experienced during childhood, making it partly a learned preference. Understanding your own needs rather than following generic advice is crucial. Indoor heating gives you the flexibility to find your personal sweet spot, the temperature where your body and mind both agree it's time to rest deeply and without disturbance. Seasonal affective disorder and winter sleep problems are intimately connected to heating and light exposure. During winter months in northern latitudes, the combination of less daylight and colder temperatures can significantly disrupt sleep patterns. Research from chronobiology, the study of biological rhythms, shows that cold winter bedrooms can delay sleep onset by 30 to 45 minutes on average. Your circadian rhythm, the internal 24-hour clock, relies partly on temperature cues to stay synchronized. When indoor temperatures drop significantly at night, it can send confusing signals to this system. Modern heating allows us to maintain temperature stability that would be impossible in natural conditions, essentially protecting our circadian rhythms from seasonal disruption. Studies from late 2023 and 2024 demonstrate that people who maintain consistent bedroom temperatures year-round show notably more stable sleep patterns and report fewer mood disturbances related to seasonal changes. The warmth provided by heating systems serves as both physical comfort and chronobiological anchor. So yes, indoor heating is already changing our understanding of sleep by showing us that thermal comfort is inseparable from psychological safety. We're discovering that the temperature of your bedroom doesn't just affect your body's ability to cool down. It affects your mind's ability to let go, to trust that you're safe enough to become unconscious for 8 hours. The research emerging over the past 2 years consistently points to this intersection, where physical thermoregulation meets emotional regulation, where the warmth on your skin connects to the warmth in your sense of security. Let yourself notice this connection as we continue exploring these quiet truths about rest. The relationship between temperature and deep sleep has been measured with remarkable precision in recent years. Slow-wave sleep, also called deep sleep or delta sleep, is the stage where your brain waves slow to their lowest frequency and your body performs its most intensive repair work. According to polysomnographic studies, the amount of slow-wave sleep you get is directly influenced by how successfully your core temperature drops during the night. Research published in 2024 using temperature-controlled sleeping environments found that when room temperature was precisely maintained at 65 degrees Fahrenheit, participants experienced significantly more time in slow-wave sleep, with improvements ranging from 15 to 30% in controlled studies, compared to rooms at 75 degrees. This difference translates to significant impacts on physical recovery, immune function, and memory consolidation. Indoor heating paradoxically helps you achieve this by preventing you from getting too cold, which would interrupt the process. The goal isn't maximum cold, but optimal thermal balance, where you're warm enough to relax, but cool enough for your core temperature to drop. Ancient humans understood the connection between warmth and sleep long before science could explain it. Archaeological evidence from sites across Europe, Asia, and Africa shows that early human settlements were organized around fire pits, with sleeping areas positioned to capture radiant heat without getting too close to flames. Our ancestors didn't have thermostats, but they had something equally important: the knowledge that gathering in warmth created conditions for safe sleep. Anthropological studies suggest that the ritual of tending fire before sleep served both practical and psychological purposes. It provided thermal comfort and also marked the transition from day to night, from activity to rest, from vigilance to trust in the group's collective safety. Modern indoor heating, in a sense, is a continuation of this ancient practice. When you adjust your thermostat before bed, you're participating in a behavior pattern that stretches back tens of thousands of years, one that's woven into your genetic memory and psychological makeup. Your hands and feet play a surprisingly important role in how well you sleep, and indoor heating affects them directly. These extremities contain specialized blood vessels called arteriovenous anastomoses that can rapidly change blood flow to regulate heat loss. When you're preparing for sleep, these vessels dilate, sending warm blood to your skin's surface where heat radiates away. This process, called distal heat loss, is essential for lowering your core temperature. But here's the interesting part. If your hands and feet are too cold to begin with, these vessels constrict instead, preventing the heat loss you actually need. Studies from thermal physiology research in 2024 found that people with chronically cold hands and feet take 38% longer to fall asleep on average. Indoor heating solves this problem by warming the air around you enough that your extremities stay at the temperature where distal vasodilation can occur. Wearing socks to bed works through a similar mechanism, providing that initial warmth that paradoxically allows you to cool down where it matters. The psychological phenomenon known as conditional comfort has particular relevance to bedroom heating. This concept, studied extensively in environmental psychology, refers to how we associate certain sensory experiences with specific emotional states through repeated pairing. If you've spent years falling asleep in a room that's comfortably heated, your brain has formed strong neural associations between that specific thermal sensation and the sleep state. Walking into your heated bedroom triggers these associations automatically, creating a cascade of psychological and physiological changes that prepare you for rest. Your brain recognizes the sensory environment and begins releasing sleep-promoting neurotransmitters before you even lie down. This learned response is so powerful that for some people, temperature cues are as important as darkness or lying down for initiating the sleep process. Disrupting these thermal cues by sleeping somewhere colder than usual can significantly impair sleep quality, even if the new temperature is technically within optimal range. Modern sleep research has revealed that temperature fluctuations during the night can interfere with rest more noticeably than a room that's slightly too warm or too cold. Your sleep cycles through different stages every 90 minutes or so, from light sleep to deep sleep to REM sleep and back. Each transition point is a vulnerable moment where you might wake up if something in your environment changes. Temperature shifts of even 2 or 3 degrees can trigger these awakenings, often without you consciously realizing it. You might not remember waking, but your sleep tracking data would show brief arousals that fragment your rest and reduce its restorative quality. Indoor heating systems with good thermostats prevent these fluctuations by maintaining consistent temperatures throughout the night. Research from 2024 using continuous temperature monitoring and sleep EEG recordings demonstrated that nights with stable temperatures showed substantially fewer microarousals, with some studies documenting reductions of 30 to 50% when temperature remained stable, compared to nights with temperature variability. Consistency matters as much as the specific temperature. The concept of nest warmth has deep evolutionary roots that influence how we respond to heated sleeping environments. Many mammals, including our distant ancestors, created insulated sleeping spaces that retained body heat. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer societies have documented sleeping arrangements where family groups cluster together, creating microenvironments several degrees warmer than ambient temperature. This collective warmth provided not just thermal comfort but also social bonding and security. Our modern heated bedrooms, in some ways, recreate this ancestral nest environment without requiring physical proximity to others. The warmth triggers ancient neural circuits associated with safety in numbers, with the protection of the group, with the vulnerability of sleep being acceptable because you're in a defended, climate-controlled space. People who live alone often report that maintaining a warm bedroom feels like having company, providing a subtle but meaningful psychological comfort that eases the transition into sleep's solitary journey. Children and teenagers have different temperature regulation needs compared to adults, something that indoor heating helps accommodate. During adolescence, the circadian rhythm naturally shifts later, a phenomenon called delayed sleep phase. Teenagers biologically want to stay up later and sleep later, which means their core temperature drop doesn't begin until later in the evening. Research from developmental sleep science shows that maintaining slightly warmer bedroom temperatures in the early evening, then gradually cooling the room as night progresses, can help synchronize teenage sleep patterns with school schedules. The ability to program heating systems for these temperature transitions provides support for natural developmental changes in circadian timing. For younger children, who generally need more warmth and have less efficient thermoregulation, consistent heating prevents nighttime wakings from cold that can disrupt both their sleep and their parents' rest. Temperature control becomes a tool for supporting healthy development across the entire lifespan. The medical field has increasingly recognized temperature management as a component of sleep therapy for various conditions. People with chronic pain often experience worse symptoms at night, partly because lower temperatures can increase joint stiffness and muscle tension. Maintaining warmer bedroom temperatures has been shown to reduce nighttime pain levels and improve sleep quality for arthritis patients and those with fibromyalgia. Similarly, people with Raynaud's syndrome, a condition where extremities become extremely cold and painful, need carefully controlled, warm environments for any hope of restful sleep. Recent studies from sleep medicine in 2024 have explored using gentle warming as a non-pharmaceutical intervention for insomnia, particularly in cases where cold-induced muscle tension contributes to sleep onset difficulties. While this doesn't work for everyone, and some people need the opposite intervention, it demonstrates how individualized temperature control has become a legitimate therapeutic tool rather than just a comfort preference. Your brain's perception of room temperature is influenced by air movement and radiant heat sources, not just the number on your thermostat. This is why two rooms, both set to 68 degrees Fahrenheit, can feel completely different in terms of comfort. Air moving across your skin, even slow movement from ventilation systems, increases evaporative cooling and makes you feel colder. Radiant heating, which warms surfaces and objects rather than just air, creates a different quality of warmth that many people find more psychologically comforting. Research in thermal comfort engineering shows that the perceived temperature, the one that affects your sleep, can vary by 5 or more degrees from the measured air temperature, depending on these factors. Understanding this helps explain why some people sleep well in what seems like an uncomfortably warm or cold environment to others. The subjective experience of thermal comfort is what matters for sleep, and indoor heating systems give you tools to adjust multiple variables until you find what works. The transition from wakefulness to sleep involves what researchers call the thermal comfort zone, a narrow range where your body neither needs to actively warm itself nor cool itself. When you're in this zone, your thermoregulatory system can idle, so to speak, allowing energy and attention to shift toward the sleep process. Studies using thermography, infrared imaging that shows heat patterns, reveal that successful sleepers spend more time in their personal thermal comfort zone during the hour before sleep compared to people with insomnia. Indoor heating allows you to find and maintain this zone consistently. Without temperature control, you might spend the pre-sleep period too cold, activating warming mechanisms like shivering or vasoconstriction that increase arousal and delay sleep onset. Or you might be too warm, activating cooling mechanisms like sweating that can also interfere with settling into rest. The ability to fine-tune your environment to match your thermal comfort zone eliminates one of the many potential obstacles between you and sleep. Cultural attitudes toward bedroom temperature vary significantly across different parts of the world, reflecting both climate adaptation and traditional practices. In Scandinavian countries, where cold tolerance is culturally valued, many people prefer much cooler sleeping environments, sometimes sleeping with windows open even in winter. Mediterranean cultures often favor warmer nighttime temperatures. Asian traditions in countries like Japan historically emphasized minimal heating, with bedding and insulation doing most of the thermal regulation work. As sleep science has globalized and heating technology has become more widespread, we're seeing a gradual convergence towards similar temperature recommendations, but individual and cultural preferences remain strong. Research from cross-cultural psychology in 2024 found that people's ideal sleeping temperature correlates significantly with the climate they experienced during childhood, suggesting that early thermal experiences create lasting preferences. Indoor heating gives you the freedom to honor these preferences rather than being forced to adapt to whatever temperature nature provides. The energy expenditure required to maintain body temperature affects sleep quality in ways that aren't immediately obvious. When you're too cold, your body increases metabolic activity to generate heat, which raises your overall energy expenditure and can prevent you from achieving the metabolic slowdown necessary for deep sleep. Conversely, when you're too warm, your body expends energy trying to dissipate heat through increased heart rate and respiratory rate. Both situations create a subtle state of physiological stress that's incompatible with deep rest. The optimal sleeping environment requires minimal energy expenditure for temperature regulation, allowing your metabolism to slow naturally as you progress through sleep stages. Calorimetry studies, which measure energy use with extreme precision, show that sleep in thermally optimal conditions requires about 12% less energy than sleep in conditions requiring active temperature regulation. This energy savings might seem small, but over a full night's sleep, it represents significant resources that your body can redirect toward repair, immune function, and neural maintenance instead. The sound of heating systems can become a sleep cue in itself, adding an auditory component to the thermal comfort equation. Many modern heating systems produce gentle, consistent white noise or pink noise as they operate. This steady sound can mask other environmental noises that might disturb sleep, like traffic or neighbors. Additionally, for people who've grown accustomed to sleeping with heating, the soft hum or click of the system activating becomes associated with bedtime routines and sleep itself. Studies of environmental sleep cues show that familiar, predictable sounds can facilitate sleep onset by creating acoustic consistency that the brain learns to ignore while remaining alert to unusual sounds that might indicate danger. Some people report difficulty sleeping in silent rooms after years of sleeping with heating noise, demonstrating how these associations become woven into our sleep architecture. The psychological comfort of indoor heating extends beyond temperature into the complete sensory environment it creates. Partner temperature compatibility is a real challenge that indoor heating can help address. Bed partners often have different thermal preferences, leading to what sleep researchers affectionately call the thermostat wars. Studies show that this mismatch is one of the top 5 sources of sleep-related conflict in couples, along with different sleep schedules, snoring, movement, and blanket hogging. The gender-related temperature difference mentioned earlier means that in mixed-gender couples, one partner is often too warm while the other is too cold. Solutions range from separate blankets with different insulation levels to dual-zone heating systems that allow different temperatures on different sides of the bedroom. Recent innovation in sleep technology includes beds with individual temperature control for each side. But even basic indoor heating helps by establishing a baseline temperature that can then be modified with bedding choices and personal adjustments. The ability to control room temperature provides a foundation for negotiating personal comfort needs without one partner consistently sacrificing sleep quality. These observations reveal that temperature is not what we thought, a simple environmental variable we could ignore if we're tough enough. We're learning that thermal environment is intimately woven into the fabric of human sleep, affecting everything from circadian timing to dream content to how safe we feel in darkness. Our modern understanding recognizes warmth as both physical necessity and psychological medicine, both biological requirement and emotional comfort. The heated bedroom represents the intersection of technology and ancient need, of control and surrender, of isolation and the remembered warmth of the tribe. Let your understanding settle as we move deeper into how this warmth reshapes not just sleep, but the mind that sleeps. Let's pause here and notice your body. As you breathe out slowly, appreciate each tiny cell inside. Trillions of organisms working in silence. Heart beating, lungs breathing, brain thinking, all without your command. Notice the gentle sensations on your skin, in your muscles, along your spine, the temperature around you, the pressure of surfaces supporting you. You are a complete ecosystem, diverse, self-balancing, knowing exactly what it needs to rest deeply. Feel the subtle warmth radiating from within, the slight coolness where air touches skin. This is your body finding its perfect thermal balance, preparing for restoration you don't have to direct. Now we continue. The brain's thermoregulatory center, located in the hypothalamus, maintains direct communication pathways with sleep-wake control systems throughout the brain. Recent discoveries in sleep neuroscience reveal how temperature-sensing neurons influence the release of sleep-promoting neurotransmitters like GABA and adenosine. When thermoreceptors in your skin detect pleasant, stable warmth, they send signals along these pathways that facilitate the neurochemical cascade, transitioning your brain from wakefulness to sleep simultaneously. Warming suppresses the production of wake-promoting molecules like orexin and histamine. This means indoor heating doesn't just make you feel comfortable, it actively participates in the neurochemical cascade that transitions your brain from wakefulness to sleep. The thermostat on your wall is, in a very real sense, connected to switches deep in your brain. Seasonal variations in sleep quality have been documented across multiple studies, with winter months showing increased reports of sleep problems in regions without adequate heating. Data from large-scale sleep surveys covering populations in Northern Europe and North America reveal that sleep complaints increase by roughly 30% during coldest months compared to summer and fall. This correlation remains even when controlling for factors like reduced daylight and seasonal affective disorder. The mechanism appears to involve both direct thermal effects and indirect behavioral changes. People in cold environments tend to delay going to bed because bedrooms feel uninviting, then struggle to fall asleep because their body temperature hasn't dropped appropriately. They may wake more frequently due to cold extremities or disrupted REM sleep. Indoor heating breaks this cycle, maintaining consistent sleep quality across seasons. Recent longitudinal studies following the same individuals through multiple years show notably more stable sleep patterns in those with reliable heating compared to those experiencing temperature fluctuations based on weather. The relationship between warmth and maternal care creates lasting associations that influence adult temperature preferences for sleep. Developmental psychology research shows that infants spend most of their time in direct physical contact with caregivers, experiencing consistent warmth as synonymous with safety, feeding, and comfort. These early experiences imprint neural pathways that remain active throughout life. When adults seek warm sleeping environments, they're partly recreating the thermal conditions that represented ultimate security in infancy. This isn't conscious nostalgia, but deep programming in the limbic system, the emotional center of the brain. Brain imaging studies reveal that pleasant warmth activates some of the same reward pathways as social bonding and physical affection. This overlap explains why heated bedrooms feel psychologically nurturing, why warmth can ease loneliness, and why temperature control has emotional dimensions far beyond simple comfort. You're not being childish when you want warmth at night. You're honoring ancient wisdom about what sleep requires. Immune function declines measurably when you sleep in environments that are too cold, adding another layer to how heating supports health. Your immune system performs crucial maintenance during sleep, producing cytokines that fight infection and inflammation. This process is temperature sensitive. Studies from immunology research show that even mild cold stress during sleep can reduce cytokine production by up to 20% and decrease the activity of natural killer cells, your first defense against viruses and cancer cells. The optimal temperature for immune function during sleep closely matches the optimal temperature for sleep quality itself, the mid-60s Fahrenheit for most adults. Indoor heating ensures you stay in this range, particularly during winter, when immune challenges from cold and flu viruses peak. There's likely an evolutionary explanation here. Sick animals seek warm places to rest and recover. We've simply automated this healing behavior through temperature control, creating environments where our immune systems can work most effectively during sleep's restorative hours. Chronic exposure to cold sleeping environments has been linked to increased risk of insomnia and depression. A longitudinal study, published in 2024, following participants over 5 years, found that people living in homes with inadequate heating were significantly more likely to develop chronic insomnia, with some research suggesting more than twice the risk compared to those with good temperature control. The researchers identified multiple contributing factors: direct sleep disruption from cold, increased stress hormones from thermal discomfort, reduced social interaction from staying in bed under blankets, and decreased physical activity from avoiding cold spaces. Depression rates also showed correlation, likely through both direct neurochemical effects and indirect impacts of poor sleep on mood regulation. These findings highlight how indoor heating is not merely a convenience, but a component of mental health infrastructure. Access to warmth, particularly at night when temperature regulation is most challenging, represents a basic need that affects well-being across multiple dimensions. Policy researchers are increasingly recognizing affordable heating as a public health issue with implications for sleep medicine. The practice of using heated blankets or mattress pads represents a targeted approach to temperature control that complements whole-room heating. These devices allow you to create a warm microenvironment in bed while keeping the room cooler, essentially optimizing the temperature gradient that promotes sleep. Your body is warm initially, helping with relaxation and the release of pre-sleep tension. As you fall asleep and your core temperature needs to drop, you can turn down or off the heating element, allowing the cool room air to assist with thermoregulation. Research comparing different heating strategies found that this layered approach, combining room cooling with localized warming, produced some of the best sleep outcomes. measured by both objective polysomnography and subjective reports. The key is control and timing. Automated blankets that start warm and gradually cool through the night mimic your body's natural temperature curve, supporting rather than fighting against your physiology. This represents the growing sophistication in how we think about thermal comfort for sleep. Cultural practices around bedtime warming rituals reflect universal human understanding of warmth's sleep-promoting effects. In Japan, the traditional bath before bed, often quite hot, serves multiple purposes, including cleanliness and relaxation, but also creates a temperature curve that aids sleep. As you cool down after the bath, your core temperature drops, signaling sleep time. European traditions include warm milk or herbal teas consumed before bed, providing both psychological comfort and gentle internal warming. In many cultures, heated stones were placed in beds to warm sheets before sleeping. Modern heating systems essentially automate what humans have always known. Warmth soothes the transition towards sleep. Anthropological studies suggest these practices evolved independently in different parts of the world, suggesting that the warmth-sleep connection is so fundamental that every culture discovered it. Your heated bedroom is the latest expression of ancient wisdom, refined through technology but serving the same primordial need for thermal security during vulnerable rest. The nervous system's response to temperature operates on multiple timescales, influencing both immediate comfort and long-term sleep patterns. Acute responses occur within seconds as thermoreceptors detect temperature changes and send signals to the brain. Intermediate responses unfold over minutes to hours as your body adjusts blood flow, metabolic rate, and behavior to maintain thermal homeostasis. Long-term adaptation occurs over weeks and months as you acclimate to typical temperature ranges. These different timescales matter for understanding heating and sleep. If you suddenly increase bedroom temperature, you'll feel the immediate warmth, but it takes several nights for your sleep system to fully adapt and optimize around the new thermal environment. Similarly, if heating fails and you must sleep in cold, your first night might not be terrible because your body is still adapted to warmth. But after several nights, sleep quality degrades as cold adaptation occurs, which ironically makes you more cold tolerant but worse rested. Consistent indoor heating works best precisely because it prevents these constant adaptations, allowing your sleep system to stabilize. The economic implications of heating for sleep extend beyond individual comfort into workplace productivity and healthcare costs. Multiple economic analyses have calculated that poor sleep from thermal discomfort costs billions annually in lost productivity, accidents, and medical expenses. Workers who sleep poorly due to cold homes show measurably reduced cognitive performance, particularly on tasks requiring sustained attention and complex decision-making. The financial argument for ensuring adequate heating becomes compelling when you account for these downstream effects. One study estimated that improving home heating to support better sleep could reduce workplace accidents by 12% and sick days by 9% in populations with marginal heating access. From a societal perspective, investing in heating infrastructure and affordability programs could generate returns through improved public health and productivity. These economic arguments complement the individual health arguments, suggesting that viewing heating as essential infrastructure for sleep makes sense on multiple levels. Pregnancy brings significant changes to thermoregulation that make temperature control especially important for maternal sleep. Pregnant individuals typically run warmer than usual due to increased metabolic rate and blood volume, often feeling uncomfortably warm in rooms that previously felt comfortable. This thermal discomfort compounds the many other factors that disrupt sleep during pregnancy. Physical discomfort from body changes, frequent urination, anxiety, and hormone fluctuations. Sleep problems during pregnancy correlate with increased risk of complications, including preeclampsia and gestational diabetes, making sleep quality a clinical concern. Research from obstetric medicine suggests that allowing pregnant people to control bedroom temperature, typically cooler than pre-pregnancy preferences, can improve sleep duration and quality. This might require adjusting heating downward or using fans for cooling. The ability to easily modify thermal environment becomes particularly valuable during this life stage, when so many aspects of physical comfort are beyond control. Small environmental adjustments gain outsized importance when sleep is already challenged. This evidence suggests that indoor heating creates conditions where our modern lifestyle can coexist with our ancient biology. We see pattern after pattern: temperature affecting brain chemistry, warmth connecting to emotional security, cold triggering stress that fragments rest. The research keeps pointing toward the same conclusion. Thermal comfort is not peripheral to sleep. It's central, perhaps even foundational. As we continue exploring, notice how each discovery adds another layer to understanding why that warm bedroom feels so essential to rest. The phenomenon of cold-induced insomnia has specific physiological markers that distinguish it from other forms of sleep difficulty. Sleep laboratory studies using controlled temperature manipulation have identified a characteristic pattern: difficulty initiating sleep, frequent arousals during the first half of the night, reduced time in slow-wave sleep, and compensatory increases in lighter sleep stages. Participants in these studies report similar subjective experiences, even when kept in completely different temperature conditions, suggesting the brain's response to thermal stress follows predictable pathways. What's particularly interesting is that cold-induced sleep problems often find limited benefit from typical insomnia treatments like sleep restriction or cognitive behavioral therapy. The solution is simpler: address the temperature. This highlights how environmental factors can masquerade as psychological sleep disorders. Before pursuing complex interventions, ensuring optimal thermal environment makes basic physiological sense. Indoor heating represents the first-line intervention for this particular flavor of insomnia, often resolving problems that might otherwise lead to long-term sleep medication use. Nocturnal temperature fluctuations from heating system cycles can be minimized through modern thermostat technology, further improving sleep quality. Older heating systems that operate on simple on-off cycles create temperature swings of 3 to 5 degrees, potentially triggering the microarousals discussed earlier. Newer systems with modulating capability or smart learning thermostats maintain much tighter temperature control, often within 1 degree of the set point. Some advanced systems can be programmed for gradual temperature changes that mimic natural circadian temperature variation, slightly warmer during initial sleep onset, then cooling through the night as your body's temperature naturally continues dropping. Research comparing sleep under different thermostat technologies shows measurable differences, with tighter temperature control correlating with longer periods of uninterrupted slow-wave sleep and fewer unexplained awakenings. As heating technology continues evolving, its role in optimizing sleep environment becomes increasingly sophisticated. The simple presence of heat matters, but the precision with which that heat is delivered matters too. Children's sleep problems related to temperature often manifest differently than adult issues, requiring particular attention from caregivers. Young children are less able to articulate thermal discomfort, instead showing symptoms like restlessness, frequent waking, early morning rising, or resistance to going to bed. Parents might not connect these behaviors to temperature, instead interpreting them as behavioral issues or normal developmental phases. Pediatric sleep specialists increasingly screen for thermal environment when evaluating childhood sleep problems, recognizing that simple temperature adjustment can resolve issues that might otherwise be treated with complex behavioral interventions or in some unfortunate cases, medication. The appropriate temperature range for children's sleep varies by age, with infants needing slightly warmer environments and adolescents often preferring cooler rooms. Having heating that can be adjusted as children grow through different developmental stages supports healthy sleep patterns across childhood. This environmental flexibility represents a form of preventive healthcare, establishing good sleep foundation during formative years when sleep needs are highest. All this evidence reveals that thermal environment doesn't just influence sleep quality, it shapes our neurochemistry, our immune function, our emotional regulation, our productivity, and our long-term health. The question isn't whether indoor heating makes you sleep better. The accumulated research makes clear that for most people in most climates, it absolutely does. The more nuanced question becomes, what is your individual optimal temperature, and how can you achieve it consistently? We're moving from whether temperature matters to how it matters, for you specifically. You're still here with me, thoughts still drifting like warmth rising from heated floors. Just notice, don't judge. Just notice where your mind is right now, where your body is settling. We're exploring consciousness itself, the very thing doing the exploring in this moment. The awareness that registers temperature and comfort and the gradual pull of sleep. Strange, beautiful, and perfectly calm. Let's drift onward together through these remaining truths. The brain's limbic system, which processes emotions and memories, shows heightened activity when exposed to pleasant warmth compared to neutral or cool temperatures. Functional imaging studies reveal that warmth activates the anterior cingulate cortex, a region involved in emotional regulation and the subjective sense of well-being. This activation correlates with reduced activity in the amygdala, the brain's fear and threat detection center. In practical terms, this means warmth doesn't just feel comfortable. It actively reduces anxiety and promotes emotional states compatible with sleep. People with anxiety-related insomnia often benefit particularly from warmer sleeping environments because the thermal comfort helps quiet the overactive threat detection systems that keep them hypervigilant at night. The heating in your bedroom, from this perspective, serves as an environmental anxiolytic, a non-pharmaceutical intervention that shifts brain activity toward patterns associated with safety and rest. This neurological reality explains why insisting on sleeping in cold rooms, while perhaps building character, might actually work against psychological peace. Memory consolidation during sleep is temperature sensitive, with implications for learning and cognitive health. The process of converting short-term memories into long-term storage happens primarily during slow-wave sleep and certain phases of REM sleep. Both these sleep stages are disrupted by suboptimal temperature. Research examining memory performance after sleep under different temperature conditions found that recall accuracy decreased by approximately 15% when sleep occurred in rooms more than 5 degrees away from personal optimal temperature. This effect was particularly pronounced for emotional memories and procedural memories, like motor skills. The mechanism involves temperature-sensitive enzymes and proteins involved in synaptic plasticity, the physical changes in brain connections that encode memories. Maintaining proper temperature through the night isn't just about feeling rested. It's about allowing your brain to perform the essential cognitive maintenance that makes learning and memory possible. Students studying for exams, people learning new skills, and older adults concerned about cognitive decline all have stakes in sleeping at the right temperature. The concept of thermal stress applies even at temperatures that don't seem obviously uncomfortable. Your body expends cognitive and physical resources to maintain core temperature whenever the environment differs significantly from neutral, which varies by individual but typically centers around 70 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit for a lightly clothed, resting person during sleep. When metabolic rate drops, the neutral zone shifts cooler, which is why optimal sleeping temperatures run cooler than comfortable waking temperatures. But if the room gets too cold, requiring active warming, or too warm, requiring active cooling, this represents thermal stress, even if it's not consciously unpleasant. The stress manifests as elevated cortisol levels, increased sympathetic nervous system activity, and fragmented sleep architecture. Long-term exposure to thermal stress during sleep has been associated with increased cardiovascular strain and metabolic dysfunction. Indoor heating allows you to minimize this stress by staying within the range where your body can rest without fighting temperature extremes. The goal is thermal neutrality during sleep. Not too hot, not too cold, just right. Geographic and socio-economic disparities in heating access create significant health inequities related to sleep. Populations in colder climates without adequate heating show higher rates of sleep disorders, seasonal depression, and related health problems. Low-income communities often face choices between heating and other necessities, leading to homes kept at temperatures below optimal for health. These thermal hardships translate directly into sleep debt, which accumulates over weeks and months, affecting physical health, mental health, work performance, and academic achievement. Public health research increasingly recognizes inadequate heating as a social determinant of health, with measurable impacts on population well-being. Intervention programs that assist with heating costs or efficiency improvements show returns in reduced healthcare utilization and improved educational outcomes for children. From this perspective, the ability to sleep in a properly heated environment becomes a matter of health, equity, and social justice. Not merely personal preference. Your warm bedroom might feel like a small luxury, but access to that luxury shouldn't determine who gets to sleep well and who doesn't. The interaction between humidity and temperature creates an often overlooked dimension of thermal comfort for sleep. Air that's too dry can irritate respiratory passages and make the room feel colder than it actually is, while excessive humidity makes a room feel warmer and can promote mold growth. The ideal humidity range for sleep falls between 30 and 50% relative humidity. Many modern heating systems dry out indoor air, particularly forced air systems that blow heated air through vents. This dryness can lead to sleep disruption from coughing, sinus irritation, or general discomfort even when temperature is perfect. Solutions include humidifiers that work in concert with heating systems, maintaining both optimal temperature and optimal moisture levels. The sophistication of indoor climate control has progressed beyond simple heating to integrated management of multiple environmental variables. Understanding these interactions helps explain why some people struggle to sleep despite having heating. They may have addressed temperature, but not the complete thermal environment, which includes humidity as an essential component. Nighttime temperature and dream content show intriguing correlations in sleep laboratory research. Studies examining dream reports under different temperature conditions find that cold sleeping environments associate with dreams involving anxiety, pursuit, and threat, while thermally comfortable conditions correlate with dreams that are more socially oriented and emotionally neutral or positive. The mechanism likely involves the emotional tone set by the limbic system's response to temperature, affecting the content generation during REM sleep. When your body is stressed by cold, that stress permeates the dream world your brain creates. When you're comfortable, your dreams reflect that ease. This phenomenon matters beyond mere curiosity, because dream content can influence how rested you feel upon waking. Disturbing or anxiety-laden dreams reduce subjective sleep quality, even if sleep architecture looks normal. Indoor heating. By creating thermal comfort, may indirectly improve not just sleep quantity and efficiency, but also the psychological experience of sleep itself. Your dreams unfold in the emotional context your environment creates. The morning awakening process is influenced by bedroom temperature in ways that affect the entire day ahead. Sleep researchers have found that waking in an uncomfortably cold room triggers a more abrupt stress response, with sharper spikes in cortisol and adrenaline, compared to waking in comfortable warmth. While cortisol naturally rises in the morning to help you wake up, the magnitude and pattern of this increase affects your mood, energy, and physiological stress load for hours afterward. People who wake in cold rooms report feeling more sluggish, irritable, and stressed even after warming up, suggesting the initial temperature experience has lasting effects. Some modern heating systems can be programmed to warm the bedroom starting 30 to 60 minutes before wake time, creating a gentler transition out of sleep. This graduated warming helps align environmental cues with natural awakening processes, making the transition from sleep to wakefulness smoother and more pleasant. How you wake shapes how you live your day, and that begins with the temperature you first experience upon consciousness returning. Certain medical conditions, including diabetes, thyroid disorders, and autoimmune diseases, affect temperature regulation in ways that make indoor heating particularly important. People with diabetes often experience peripheral neuropathy that impairs their ability to sense temperature in extremities, making them vulnerable to both cold injury and the sleep disruption from cold feet they can't feel. Thyroid problems alter metabolic rate and heat production, with hypothyroidism causing cold sensitivity and disturbed sleep from inadequate body warmth. Autoimmune conditions like lupus or rheumatoid arthritis often worsen with cold exposure, increasing pain and inflammation that interfere with rest. For these populations, proper heating isn't comfort enhancement. It's medical necessity for achieving restorative sleep. Healthcare providers treating sleep problems in these contexts routinely assess home heating adequacy as part of comprehensive care. The recognition that chronic illness makes thermal environment more critical rather than less critical represents an important shift in how we think about heating as health infrastructure. The sensory consistency provided by steady heating contributes to sleep inertia reduction, making it easier to fall back asleep after nighttime awakenings. Sleep inertia refers to the grogginess and cognitive impairment experienced when waking from sleep. When you wake briefly during the night, as everyone does occasionally, the speed and ease of returning to sleep depends partly on environmental consistency. If temperature has shifted significantly, your brain detects this change as potentially meaningful, increasing alertness to assess whether there's a threat or problem requiring attention. But if temperature remains stable, one less arousal signal reaches your consciousness, making it easier to drift back to sleep. People who maintain very consistent bedroom temperatures through good heating control report fewer problematic middle-of-the-night awakenings compared to those in more variable thermal environments. This might explain some of the seasonal variation in sleep complaints. Winter temperature fluctuations from heating systems, cycling, or inadequate heating create more variability than summer conditions, leading to more frequent awakenings. Halfway through our journey, the answer is emerging clearly. Indoor heating makes you sleep better not through a single mechanism but through multiple converging pathways. It reduces thermal stress that fragments sleep, creates psychological safety that allows relaxation, supports optimal thermoregulation for sleep initiation, maintains immune function during rest, influences dream content, facilitates memory consolidation, and provides the environmental consistency your brain needs to surrender fully into sleep's depths. The question has evolved from whether heating helps to understanding the intricate web of connections between warmth, brain, and rest. Let yourself absorb this complexity as we move toward the deeper truth waiting ahead. And imagine, even when a room feels empty. Space is always full of movement, vibrations, invisible molecules dancing with thermal energy. The air around you is never truly still. Heat rises, cool sinks, currents flow. Energy transfers silently from the heating system through metal, through air, through the blanket covering you, finally reaching your skin in gentle waves. Imagine you're floating on a calm lake, but beneath the surface there's always gentle current, always flow, always exchange. Your body rests on these invisible currents of warmth, supported by physics older than stars, by thermodynamics as fundamental as gravity. You don't have to understand it. Just feel it, the warmth that holds you. Now we continue the journey, half complete, half remaining. The association between warmth and nurturing runs deep in human psychology, affecting how we experience bedrooms and sleep. Cross-cultural research in environmental psychology shows that across diverse societies, warmth is consistently associated with positive traits: kindness, generosity, comfort, safety, love. Cold associates with opposite traits: hostility, isolation, discomfort, danger, rejection. These metaphors aren't arbitrary. They reflect embodied cognition, how physical experiences shape abstract thought. When you heat your bedroom, you're not just changing temperature. You're creating an environment your mind reads as nurturing rather than hostile, as welcoming rather than rejecting. This psychological dimension complements the physiological effects, creating a complete experience where body and mind both recognize conditions suitable for rest. The thermostat becomes a tool for self-care, a way of creating for yourself the warm, holding environment that, in our earliest experiences, meant we were safe enough to sleep. Studies of sleep quality in different housing types reveal significant impacts of heating system design on rest. Homes with radiant floor heating, where warmth radiates upward from below, tend to show better sleep outcomes than those with forced air systems, possibly because radiant heat creates more uniform temperature distribution without the air movement and noise of forced air. Older homes with steam radiators occupy a middle ground, quieter than forced air when working properly, but sometimes creating disruptive hissing or banging sounds. People living in homes with poor insulation report more sleep problems regardless of heating type, suggesting that thermal stability matters as much as heating capacity. These housing-related sleep disparities affect quality of life and health across populations. Renovation programs that improve insulation and heating efficiency generate returns not just in energy savings, but in resident sleep quality and associated health benefits. The architecture of warmth, how heating is delivered and retained, shapes the nightly experience of millions of sleepers. The circadian timing system receives temperature cues that help maintain synchronization with the 24-hour day. Your body temperature naturally varies across the day, reaching its peak in late afternoon and its lowest point in early morning hours, usually around 4 or 5 a.m. This temperature rhythm is both driven by and helps reinforce your circadian clock. Indoor heating can support these rhythms by allowing controlled temperature variation, or it can disrupt them if set to create perfectly constant temperature that removes natural variation. Some sleep optimization approaches suggest programming heating to track natural rhythms, slightly warmer in evening during wakeful hours, cooler during core sleep time, then warming again before wake time. Research on circadian temperature manipulation shows that these environmental variations can enhance rhythm strength, potentially improving both sleep quality and daytime alertness. The goal isn't to eliminate temperature variation, but to support the variations that serve your natural biological timing. Indoor heating becomes a tool for circadian support when used intelligently. The relationship between body composition and temperature preference helps explain individual variation in heating needs. People with higher percentages of body fat have better insulation and typically prefer cooler sleeping temperatures, while those with lower body fat lose heat more readily and need warmer environments. Muscle mass affects resting metabolic rate, with more muscular individuals generating more internal heat. Age-related changes in body composition partly explain why older adults often prefer warmer bedrooms than young adults. These individual differences mean there's no single correct temperature for everyone. What matters is understanding your own physiology and creating conditions that work for your specific body. Indoor heating provides the flexibility to accommodate these individual needs, rather than forcing everyone to adapt to whatever temperature nature provides. This personalization is especially important in shared sleeping arrangements, where partners may have different optimal temperatures. The ability to adjust heating to find the compromise that allows both people to sleep represents a relationship skill supported by technology. Seasonal affective disorder shows interesting connections to sleep problems that indoor heating can partially address. People with SAD experience depression during winter months, partly driven by reduced daylight, but also influenced by cold temperatures and resulting behavioral changes. One common pattern in SAD is sleeping more but feeling less rested, often combined with difficulty getting out of bed in the morning. Cold bedrooms exacerbate these symptoms by making bed feel like the warmest, safest place, reinforcing avoidance behavior. Treatment approaches for SAD typically focus on light therapy, but addressing bedroom temperature can provide complementary benefit. A room that's comfortably warm, not cold, reduces the contrast between bed and waking environment, making it psychologically easier to get up. Additionally, proper nighttime temperature supports better sleep quality, reducing the excessive sleep characteristic of SAD. While heating alone doesn't cure seasonal depression, it removes one environmental factor that can worsen symptoms, contributing to comprehensive treatment approaches. The practice of preheating bedrooms before sleep takes advantage of what researchers call thermal history effects. Your body's comfort assessment at any moment depends partly on recent temperature exposure. If you've been in a cold room and enter a warm bedroom, you'll perceive it as very comfortable. But if you've been in an overheated space and enter the same bedroom, it might feel neutral or even too warm. Ideally, you want your bedroom to feel inviting and comfortable relative to your pre-sleep state. Many people find that heating the bedroom starting 30 to 60 minutes before bedtime creates this inviting warmth that facilitates the transition to sleep. As you then lie down and begin relaxing, the room can gradually cool, or you can adjust blankets, allowing your body temperature to drop as needed. This staged temperature approach aligns with how your body naturally prepares for sleep, supporting rather than fighting your physiology. The ability to program heating for these timing-specific changes represents sophisticated use of temperature control for sleep optimization. Respiratory health during sleep is significantly affected by bedroom temperature and the heating methods used. Cold, dry air can irritate airways, trigger coughing, and worsen conditions like asthma or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. People with these conditions often experience worse symptoms at night, partly due to circadian variation in airway caliber, but also due to environmental factors. Heating that maintains comfortable temperature while also addressing humidity creates better respiratory conditions for sleep. However, some heating types, particularly forced air systems that don't include humidification, can dry out air enough to cause problems. Optimal respiratory conditions for sleep include not just appropriate temperature, but also humidity in the 30 to 50% range and minimal air particulates. Modern HVAC systems with integrated humidification and filtration address all these factors, creating complete respiratory environments conducive to rest. For people with respiratory disease, Investing in better heating systems may yield health returns comparable to pharmaceutical interventions, though without the medication side effects. The psychological concept of environmental mastery, feeling competent to control your surroundings, significantly affects sleep anxiety. People who report high environmental mastery generally have lower rates of insomnia and better sleep quality than those who feel their environment controls them. Having heating that responds to your preferences contributes to this sense of mastery. You can make decisions about your thermal comfort and see those decisions implemented, reinforcing your sense of agency. This might seem like a small thing, but for people whose lives feel largely out of their control, perhaps due to work stress, family obligations, health problems, or other factors, having control over bedroom temperature can represent an important domain of autonomy. Sleep researchers working with patients who have anxiety-related insomnia often address these environmental control issues, helping people optimize the factors they can control, including temperature, to reduce the anxiety that interferes with sleep. The simple thermostat becomes a tool for restoring a sense of competence and self-efficacy. Night shift workers and people with non-traditional sleep schedules face particular challenges with temperature and sleep. Trying to sleep during daytime hours means fighting against your circadian temperature rhythm, which is naturally rising rather than falling during typical sleep times. Indoor heating plays a different role for these sleepers, who often need to create artificially consistent darkness and coolness to overcome circadian signals telling them to wake up. Blackout curtains, combined with air conditioning or reduced heating during daytime sleep, can help create conditions closer to natural nighttime environments. Research on circadian disruption shows that shift workers who optimize their daytime sleeping environments, including temperature control, experience fewer health problems and better sleep quality than those who don't. While no environmental manipulation can fully compensate for sleeping at the wrong circadian phase, thoughtful use of heating and cooling represents harm reduction, making a difficult situation somewhat more manageable. These workers' experiences highlight how dependent good sleep is on environmental conditions that support rather than fight biology. The evolutionary perspective on human thermoregulation during sleep reveals why we're so sensitive to temperature. Unlike many mammals, humans lack substantial fur insulation and rely heavily on behavioral thermoregulation, seeking shelter, building fires, creating clothing and bedding. This behavioral flexibility allowed humans to inhabit diverse climates, but also made us dependent on these behaviors for survival. During sleep, when behavior is limited, environmental temperature becomes crucial. Our ancestors who slept in protected, temperature-stable spaces like caves had survival advantages over those exposed to temperature extremes. This selection pressure shaped our physiology to expect certain thermal conditions during sleep. Modern heating essentially recreates the protected sleeping spaces that our genetics anticipate. When heating fails or is absent, we're experiencing conditions our bodies aren't optimized for. Conditions that trigger ancient stress responses, incompatible with deep rest. Understanding this evolutionary context helps explain why temperature affects sleep so profoundly. It's not arbitrary preference. It's genetic memory of survival requirements. The phenomenon of thermal comfort drift describes how your perception of comfortable temperature can change across a single night. You might feel that 65 degrees is perfect when first lying down, but as you enter deep sleep and metabolic rate drops further, the temperature might become too cool, causing awakening. Or conversely, the warmth that felt comfortable initially might become too warm as you generate heat under blankets. Advanced heating systems that program gradual temperature changes across the night can track these shifting comfort zones, starting slightly warmer and cooling by 1 or 2 degrees toward morning. However, individual variation makes this complex. and what works for one person might not suit another. The general principle is that truly optimal thermal environment isn't static, but dynamic, changing as your body moves through different sleep stages and physiological states. Simple thermostats can't capture this complexity, but careful attention to your own patterns can help you identify whether steady temperature or programmed variation works better for your specific physiology. Pain perception increases when you're cold and decreases slightly when comfortably warm, with important implications for people whose pain interferes with sleep. Temperature affects pain through multiple mechanisms. Cold increases muscle tension and joint stiffness, reduces blood flow to painful areas, and lowers pain threshold in the nervous system. Warmth has opposite effects, promoting muscle relaxation, increasing blood flow, and raising pain threshold. People with chronic pain conditions often discover through experience that they sleep better in warmer environments than general recommendations suggest, sometimes preferring temperatures in the low 70s rather than the mid-60s. This isn't imagination or laziness. It's their nervous system requiring different conditions to minimize pain enough for sleep. Healthcare providers treating pain-related sleep problems increasingly recognize thermal environment as a modifiable factor that can reduce reliance on pain medications, which often have sleep-disrupting side effects themselves. For these individuals, indoor heating serves double duty, creating conditions for sleep initiation and reducing pain that would otherwise prevent rest. The interaction between bedding and room temperature creates opportunities for optimization that many people overlook. Heavy blankets in warm rooms or light covers in cold rooms both create problems, either too much insulation or too little. The ideal combination involves room temperature, cool enough to require some covering, but not so cold that you need to burrow completely under heavy blankets. This allows your head and face to remain exposed to cooler air, which helps with breathing and temperature regulation, while your body stays comfortably insulated. Sleep product research has developed increasingly sophisticated bedding materials that work with heating systems to maintain optimal microclimates. Moisture-wicking fabrics that prevent overheating, phase-change materials that absorb or release heat to buffer temperature fluctuations, and weighted blankets whose gentle pressure complements thermal comfort. The science of sleep environment has become remarkably sophisticated. Recognizing that temperature management involves multiple components working together, indoor heating provides the foundation, but thoughtful bedding selection tailors the final experience to individual preferences. Pet sleeping arrangements interact interestingly with bedroom heating and human sleep quality. Dogs and cats have higher resting body temperatures than humans, typically around 100 to 102 degrees Fahrenheit. A large dog sleeping in bed with you effectively adds a living heating pad that produces warmth throughout the night. People with pets often find they prefer cooler room temperatures than they would without their warm sleeping companions. Research on co-sleeping with pets shows mixed effects on sleep quality. Some people find the warmth and companionship soothing, while others experience sleep disruption from pet movement or overheating. Individual preference matters enormously here. What's interesting from a heating perspective is how pet presence changes the optimal room temperature for human comfort. If you typically sleep with pets and suddenly find yourself alone, you might feel unexpectedly cold in your usual bedroom temperature, reflecting your adaptation to the additional warmth source. This highlights how temperature needs aren't fixed, but depend on the complete sleeping environment, including the warm bodies we share our beds with. We now understand that indoor heating doesn't just prevent cold-related sleep problems. It creates the foundation for thermal optimization that allows your body to execute its natural sleep processes without interference. From circadian temperature cues to immune function, from psychological safety to pain modulation, from respiratory health to dream content. Temperature influences every dimension of the sleep experience. The heated bedroom represents mastery over one of the fundamental environmental variables that determined survival for our ancestors. And in that mastery, we've created conditions where sleep can fulfill its complete purpose. Not just preventing exhaustion, but actively restoring, repairing, and renewing body and mind. The energy efficiency of modern heating systems has improved dramatically, addressing concerns about environmental impact of maintaining comfortable sleeping temperatures. Heat pumps, improved insulation, and smart thermostats allow precise temperature control with far less energy consumption than older systems. From an environmental ethics perspective, this matters for people who want both good sleep and reduced carbon footprint. Research comparing the health costs of inadequate heating to the environmental costs of efficient heating systems suggests that the human health benefits justify the environmental impact, especially when using renewable energy sources. However, this remains an area of ethical complexity where individual circumstances, climate region, and available technology all influence the right balance. The important point is that choosing comfortable sleeping temperature isn't necessarily environmentally irresponsible if done with efficient systems. And the health consequences of chronic poor sleep due to inadequate heating create their own environmental costs through increased healthcare utilization, reduced productivity, and other downstream effects. The transition periods of spring and fall present unique challenges for temperature and sleep as weather becomes unpredictable. A room that was perfect temperature yesterday might be uncomfortably warm or cold tonight due to weather changes. People who sleep well often share the ability to adjust their sleeping environment flexibly, changing heating settings, bedding, or even sleeping locations within the home based on conditions. This adaptive capacity represents a skill worth developing. Rather than maintaining rigid sleeping arrangements regardless of seasonal or weather changes, paying attention to actual thermal comfort and making adjustments demonstrates environmental sensitivity that supports better rest. Modern smart thermostats can learn these patterns and adjust automatically. But even without technology, cultivating awareness of your body's temperature needs and willingness to modify environment accordingly leads to better sleep outcomes. Flexibility and responsiveness to changing conditions characterize good sleepers across research studies. The placebo effect extends to temperature perception and sleep quality in interesting ways. If you believe your bedroom is at your ideal temperature, you may sleep better even if the actual temperature differs slightly from objective optimal ranges. Psychological research on thermal comfort shows that expectations and beliefs influence perceived comfort substantially. This doesn't mean temperature doesn't matter objectively, but it highlights that the interaction between actual temperature and perceived temperature is complex. Some people benefit from not obsessing over exact degrees, instead focusing on whether they feel comfortable. Others find that knowing their bedroom is set to their personally researched optimal temperature helps them relax and fall asleep. There's no single right approach here. What matters is finding the combination of actual thermal conditions and psychological comfort with those conditions that allows you to rest well. Indoor heating provides the tool for creating physical conditions, but how you think about and relate to those conditions also shapes the final sleep experience. Historical perspectives on heating and sleep reveal how recently humans achieved the consistent thermal comfort we now consider normal. Even a century ago, many people in northern climates slept in unheated bedrooms, relying entirely on bedding and body heat for warmth. Historical sleep researchers examining diaries and medical records from these periods find frequent mentions of sleep difficulties during cold months, of ice forming on inside of windows, of waking multiple times to pile on more blankets. The widespread availability of affordable indoor heating represents a public health achievement comparable to clean water or vaccination in terms of impact on population well-being. We've gained something precious. the ability to sleep comfortably, regardless of outside weather, to maintain health through winter months, to rest deeply enough for our complex modern lives to function. Recognizing this historical progress helps frame discussions of heating not as luxury, but as health infrastructure, as hard-won technological achievement that directly serves human flourishing. The future of sleep environment control may involve even more sophisticated temperature management than current systems provide. Research groups are developing bed systems with individual zone control, where different body areas can be maintained at different temperatures, cooler for core, warmer for extremities, personalized for each side in shared beds. Wearable sensors that track skin temperature and sleep stages could feed data to heating systems that adjust in real time based on actual physiological needs rather than programmed schedules. Fabric technologies incorporating heating and cooling elements directly into sleepwear or sheets may allow temperature control independent of room heating. These innovations recognize that optimal thermal environment is complex, individual, and dynamic. Whether these technologies deliver meaningful sleep improvements beyond good traditional heating remains to be proven through rigorous research. But the direction of development reflects growing understanding that temperature is central enough to sleep quality to justify sophisticated intervention. The simple thermostat may be just the beginning of humanity's quest to master the thermal dimensions of rest. Near-death experiences and deep meditation states involve reported sensations of warmth, suggesting that thermal perception connects to profound altered states of consciousness. While speculative, this subjective impression raises interesting questions about whether the feelings of safety and dissolution associated with comfortable warmth might facilitate the ego letting go required for very deep sleep states. The boundary between waking and sleeping consciousness is more permeable than we usually consider, and sensory experiences like warmth may influence how readily we cross that boundary. Temperature becomes not just a physical variable, but potentially a pathway into altered consciousness, into the strange twilight state between thought and thoughtlessness that sleep requires. This moves beyond measurable science into phenomenology, into the lived experience of thermal comfort as gateway to rest's mystery. Climate change is affecting sleep patterns globally through its impact on nighttime temperatures, creating new challenges for thermal comfort. Studies from regions experiencing heat waves show significant sleep disruption as nighttime temperatures rise above levels compatible with rest. Not all populations have access to air conditioning, and even those with cooling capability face increasing energy costs and environmental concerns about cooling use. This creates emerging health equity issues as climate change makes some areas increasingly difficult to sleep in without technological intervention. Research into passive cooling strategies, improved building design, and heat-resilient sleep practices becomes increasingly important. The relationship between heating and sleep, discussed throughout this exploration, has a mirror image in the relationship between excessive heat and sleep loss. Both extremes demonstrate that humans require fairly narrow thermal ranges for good sleep, ranges that climate instability threatens to push beyond our adaptive capacity. The sensory integration of temperature with other sleep cues creates gestalt experiences where the whole exceeds the sum of parts. Temperature combines with darkness, quiet, familiar scents, comfortable bedding, and safe spaces to create complete environments your brain recognizes as appropriate for sleep. Disrupting any single element can affect the other's effectiveness. A perfectly heated room might still feel wrong for sleep if it's too bright or noisy. Conversely, ideal lighting and quiet might not overcome uncomfortable temperature. Sleep environment optimization requires attending to multiple factors simultaneously, with temperature as one essential component within a larger system. This system's perspective helps explain individual variation in what promotes sleep. Some people are particularly sensitive to temperature, others to noise or light. Knowing your own sensory hierarchy helps prioritize which environmental factors to optimize first. For most people, temperature ranks near the top of this hierarchy, making heating one of the most important controllable variables for sleep quality. The relationship between daytime thermal exposure and nighttime sleep needs suggests that outdoor activity in various temperatures might influence optimal sleeping conditions. People who spend days in cold outdoor environments often prefer warmer sleeping spaces, while those in consistently heated indoor environments might need cooler bedrooms. This adaptation occurs partly at the physiological level as your body adjusts its baseline temperature regulation, and partly at the psychological level as you seek compensation for daytime thermal experiences. Construction workers, outdoor athletes, and others with significant cold or heat exposure during work hours might find their sleep temperature needs differ from office workers in climate-controlled buildings. There's limited research on these occupational and lifestyle variations in thermal sleep needs, but practical experience suggests that total thermal load across the 24-hour cycle influences nighttime preferences. Being attuned to your complete temperature experience rather than just nighttime conditions may help optimize your sleeping environment. Indoor heating has taught us that sleep occurs not in isolation, but within thermal context that shapes every aspect of the experience. We've learned that your body is exquisitely sensitive to temperature, that your mind reads warmth as safety, that your sleep architecture depends on core temperature dropping within narrow ranges, and that this ancient requirement persists despite our modern complexity. The question has fully transformed from whether heating matters to recognizing that for most humans in most climates, appropriate thermal environment is foundational to sleep health. Not sufficient alone, but necessary. Not the only factor, but one of the most important. The warm bedroom isn't luxury. It's wisdom, ancient and modern, about what human bodies need to rest deeply. You might be feeling tired now. That's perfectly fine. Breathe slowly. Feel the cycles everywhere. Heat flows from warm to cool. Energy disperses. Entropy increases. These are laws as fundamental as existence. Your breath, circling. Inhale, oxygen. Exhale, carbon dioxide. The same molecules ancient creatures breathed, recycled endlessly through atmosphere, ocean, forest, and lung. Your body temperature rising and falling across the day, a wave repeating since you were born, synchronized with Earth's rotation. Even thoughts cycling, from alert to drowsy, from busy to quiet, from questions to peace. Everything in the universe moves in cycles, patterns, rhythms, orbits. Nothing static, nothing permanent. Everything flowing, changing, returning. You are also part of that eternal movement. You don't need to hold on to anything. Let everything unfold in its perfect order, like temperature gradually changing through the night, unhurried, unresisting, simply existing. We're almost there now. The final truths await, gentle as morning light. Warmth at night whispers what your bones remember. Before language, before tools, before thought itself, there was huddling together against the cold darkness, sharing heat, sharing survival, sharing the trust required to close your eyes. Indoor heating is ancient comfort translated into modern form. Fire without flame. Safety without vigilance. Warmth without the danger warmth once required. Your seeking of comfortable temperature isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's listening to millions of years of evolutionary refinement, telling you what bodies need. Every mammal seeks thermal comfort. Every bird returns to the nest. Every creature knows that rest requires safe conditions. You are animal too. regardless of all your civilization and technology. The animal in you knows better than the thinker in you what sleep requires. Consider how heating changes what's possible in your life. With reliable rest comes clearer thinking, steadier emotions, stronger health, deeper creativity. Poor sleep from inadequate warmth cascades through everything you touch, every relationship you navigate, every challenge you face. The warm bedroom is foundation beneath the visible structure of your days. Foundation rarely praised, but nothing stands without it. Temperature connects you to place, to season, to the breathing planet beneath your feet. When you adjust your thermostat, you're participating in Earth's endless heat exchange. Sun warming atmosphere, atmosphere warming walls, walls warming air, air warming you. Energy flowing from nuclear fusion 93 million miles away, finally reaching your skin as gentle nighttime comfort. Physics as poetry, thermodynamics as lullaby. The privilege of warmth carries responsibility. Not everyone sleeps comfortably. Not everyone controls their temperature. Not everyone finds rest in safe, warm spaces. Your warm bedroom exists within contexts of inequality, climate change, resource distribution. This doesn't require guilt, but perhaps gratitude, perhaps awareness, perhaps motivation to work toward worlds where everyone can rest well. Imagine your bedroom as universe itself, expanding, contracting with temperature, filled with invisible particles vibrating faster when warm, slower when cool. You float in this molecular ocean, every breath exchanging matter and energy, every moment of consciousness, embedded in physical law that governs everything from atoms to galaxies. Temperature is reality made tangible, the fundamental nature of matter brought to human scale. The heated bedroom becomes sanctuary not despite but through its simple physics. Heat rises, cold sinks. Thermostats click, metal expands, air circulates. No magic here, no mystery, except the deep mystery of existence itself, of consciousness arising from matter, of bodies needing particular conditions to rest and repair and rise again. Ordinary physics creating extraordinary peace. Sleep without adequate warmth feels like exile. You can't quite settle, can't quite trust, can't quite let go into the vulnerability sleep demands. But sleep with proper warmth feels like homecoming, like the body recognizing its element, like finding the temperature that matches some inner thermostat set before you were born, before anyone was born. In the deep programming all warm-blooded creatures share. Your relationship with temperature is relationship with yourself, with your body's needs, with acceptance of being physical rather than purely mental. Controlling your bedroom temperature is practicing self-care, acknowledging that you have a body, that this body has requirements, that meeting those requirements isn't selfishness, but basic respect for the vehicle that carries you through existence. Children sleep so deeply, partly because they trust warmth completely. They haven't learned yet to override body signals with mental determination. They simply feel cold or warm and respond, seeking comfort without shame. Somewhere in growing up, many learn to ignore these signals, to push through discomfort, to prove toughness by sleeping in cold. But deep sleep requires becoming childlike again, trusting sensation, honoring need, accepting that comfort serves survival. So could indoor heating make you sleep better? It already has. For millions of people, across decades of widespread availability. The research confirms it. The testimonies support it. The physiology demands it. But more importantly, this question reveals something profound. How we sleep reflects how we live, whether we attend to our bodies or ignore them, whether we create conditions for our own flourishing or struggle against our nature out of misplaced pride? The answer isn't just yes. Heating helps sleep. The answer includes why it helps. Because you are thermal being before you are thinking being. Because temperature shaped your evolution before consciousness emerged. Because your brain grew from bodies that needed particular conditions to survive nights when predators hunted and cold killed. Understanding how heating helps sleep is understanding what humans are, what we've always been, what we remain beneath all our complexity. Warmth at night functions as time machine. It carries you back to childhood beds, to being tucked in safely, to the absolute trust that someone made the world safe enough for sleeping, even if your childhood lacked this. The archetype persists in genetic memory, in the deep past, where being cold meant danger and being warm meant survival assured. Your heated bedroom speaks to parts of you that remember when this wasn't automatic, when warmth was precious, when finding it meant living until morning. The thermometer doesn't measure just degrees. It measures safety. It measures care. It measures the invisible labor of civilization that keeps you comfortable without conscious thought. The heating system represents thousands of human innovations: metallurgy, fuel extraction and refining, thermostat engineering, insulation science, electrical infrastructure. All this complexity distilled into warmth that simply appears when you want it, letting you sleep without thinking about the miracle that makes it possible. Temperature at night becomes meditation on impermanence. Heat dissipates. Energy disperses. Nothing stays warm without input, without tending, without care. Like life itself, requiring continuous small actions to maintain conditions for flourishing. Your heating system fights entropy all night, maintaining order against the universe's tendency toward cold chaos. And you sleep within this protected bubble, shielded temporarily from thermodynamic reality, allowed to rest because something else does the work of staying warm. Perhaps the real gift of indoor heating isn't just physical comfort. Perhaps it's permission to rest fully, to stop being vigilant, to trust that you've created conditions safe enough for complete surrender into unconsciousness. In this sense, the thermostat serves as external manifestation of internal permission. You deserve comfort. You deserve safety. You deserve the conditions that allow your body to do what it evolved to do, which is rest deeply and arise renewed. The nights grow shorter now, not in clock time, but in how they feel. As you approach sleep, time behaves strangely, stretching and compressing, minutes becoming hours, becoming moments. Temperature stability helps maintain this temporal dissolution, preventing sudden jolts back to alert timekeeping when cold intrudes. You can drift in timeless thermal comfort, not quite awake and not quite asleep, existing in the threshold where consciousness fades and sleep begins. Warmth simplifies everything to essential truth. You are body in space, matter exchanging energy with surroundings, temporary form made from stardust that will return to stardust. And in between, you have this brief chance to rest well, to wake restored, to meet life with energy that good sleep provides. The heated bedroom strips away complication, leaving only thermal physics in service of biological necessity in support of conscious experience. Indigenous wisdom from many cultures speaks of right relationship with elements, with fire, with heat, with the forces that make life possible. Modern heating is continuation of this ancient relationship, made convenient, but no less sacred. Fire still warms you, just filtered through technology. Combustion still generates heat, just distant and controlled. The primal comfort remains, connecting you across millennia to every human who ever fell asleep next to flames. The philosophical question emerges: what is sleep, really? Is it just biological maintenance? cellular repair, memory consolidation? Or is it something deeper, a nightly return to the state before consciousness emerged? A rehearsal for the final sleep, a reminder that you are not solely the aware self, but also the sleeping self, the unconscious body that breathes and repairs and dreams without your oversight. Proper temperature allows this unconscious self its full expression, its complete work, its ancient purposes. The real change isn't in understanding heating's effects on sleep. The real change happens when you accept that you deserve conditions that support your well-being, that meeting your body's needs isn't weakness, that creating warm sanctuary isn't selfishness. This acceptance transforms how you approach self-care generally, rippling out from bedroom temperature into all aspects of how you relate to being embodied, being vulnerable, being human. Warmth teaches simplicity, not the simplicity of few possessions, but the simplicity of basic needs met: food, shelter, safety, comfortable temperature, and rest. Everything else in life builds on these foundations or crumbles without them. The warm bedroom is wisdom about what matters, about starting with foundations, about not expecting complex achievements from bodies deprived of simple requirements. Across continents, across cultures, across centuries, humans have sought the same thing you seek tonight: place warm enough and safe enough to sleep deeply. You are continuous with this long seeking, this universal need, this shared vulnerability. Every heated bedroom is answer to prayer, spoken by frozen ancestors who didn't survive the cold night. You sleep comfortably because of their learning, their innovation, their desperate cleverness in service of survival. The question dissolves into experience. Theory becomes irrelevant when you're actually warm, actually comfortable, actually drifting towards sleep. All the research and science and explanation matters less than this moment, this breath, this sensation of your body, finally. I finally able to let go because conditions are right, because temperature allows what temperature must allow, because you are, at last, warm enough and safe enough and ready enough for sleep. So you understand now. Indoor heating makes you sleep better because you are mammal needing mammal conditions, because warmth signals safety to ancient nervous systems, because comfortable temperature allows your body's natural sleep processes to unfold without resistance. But deeper than mechanisms, simpler than science, warmth at night feels like being held, like coming home, like the universe saying yes, rest now. You're safe here. That's the deepest truth. That's why. And so, our quiet journey through warmth and rest comes to a gentle close. We've traveled from the thermostat on your wall to the hypothalamus in your brain, from ancient fires in dark caves to modern heating systems maintaining perfect temperature, discovering along the way that sleep and warmth are woven together in patterns older than language. From cold stress fragmenting rest to warm comfort facilitating surrender, from evolutionary memory of huddling together to the solitary sleeper supported by technology, we've glimpsed how something as simple as bedroom temperature connects to everything that makes you human. Your need for safety, your animal body, your conscious choice to care for that body well. Temperature reminds us that we live at the intersection of body and mind, where physical conditions shape consciousness and consciousness interprets physical sensation. Much of life's deepest work happens in this intersection, in quiet rooms where warm air meets skin and signals travel to brain and sleep becomes possible. The heated bedroom teaches patience, teaches that good conditions create good outcomes, teaches that you can't force rest, but you can create the environment where rest chooses to arrive. By pausing to notice warmth's role in sleep, we glimpse the extraordinary hidden in the ordinary. And now, in these final minutes, Take the deepest breath you can, as deep as possible. Think about unity of every molecule in motion, every particle of air warmed and circulating, every atom vibrating at frequencies determined by temperature. You are not separate from this thermal dance. You are participant, exchanger of heat, radiator of infrared, breath through whom air flows and warms and flows again. Think about dissolution, about boundaries becoming permeable, about the edges where you end and room begins growing soft and uncertain. Let your entire being dissolve into the gentle warmth around you, into the soft darkness that holds you, into sleep that waits without demanding, ready when you're ready, patient as physics, inevitable as entropy. No boundaries left between you and comfort. Only warmth, only rest, only peace. If this thoughtful exploration of warmth and rest made you feel less alone in your seeking of good sleep, whisper it forward to someone awake tonight. It may bring comfort to one more consciousness learning to trust its own needs, learning that caring for the body is caring for the self, learning that sleep begins with creating conditions that allow rather than demand. One quiet share, one peaceful night at a time. But there's no need to do anything now. Nothing at all. You've traveled far tonight, farther than distance measures, into the space where science meets rest, where knowledge serves letting go. You can allow these thoughts of temperature and thermodynamics to fade now, like warmth dissipating into cooler air, leaving only the comfortable calm behind. Let your breathing deepen. Let your body feel heavier, as if Earth's gravity has increased slightly, pulling you downward into mattress, into support, into the surface that holds you completely. If sleep comes, let it carry you like warm air rising on invisible currents, smoothly, inevitably, into a realm where temperature no longer matters because you've become temperature itself. Warmth without boundary, rest without resistance. If your eyes are still open, the next video is waiting for you, ready to continue the journey toward sleep. But if they're closed, stay there. Stay in the darkness that feels safe and warm. Stay in the not thinking, the not worrying, the simple being that sleep requires. Tomorrow, the thermostat will still be there. Temperature will still matter. Your body will still need its careful balance of warmth and coolness for rest. But tonight belongs to stillness, to warmth held gently, to the letting go that comes when all conditions align. Rest well, sleepy scientist. And remember, you are worthy of warmth, worthy of comfort, worthy of sleep that restores everything sleep can restore. Relax, listen, and drift into sleep. Good night.